Welcome to this video about installing Linux part 2. On the previous video, the part 1, I have shown how to set up your computer and how to download and install Linux on it. Now this video will show you what to do after the installation. Let's start to talk about the welcome screen. After the first boot, many Linux distribution or graphical interface have this kind of things. On this example, I will describe the one provided by Linux Mint. On the first boot of Linux Mint, a welcome screen opens and explains things about what Linux Mint is. You can read all of this if you want more information. At the bottom right, there's also a box. You can uncheck if you don't want this welcome window to appear every time the system starts. And now, by clicking on the Let's Go button, we have a few customization options proposed. You can choose the desktop color. You can try the style and color you want. It will instantly change the appearance, so you can quickly see what your new options looks like. If I choose the red color here, my desktop theme color will be red. For example, my folder color will be red. In the advanced options, there are more options available. Click and configure the options you want. System snapshots allow you to configure an automatic task to create system snapshots. The password of a user with admin rights is required to configure this option. Snapshots allow you to revert the system to a previous state in case of problems. It's a good idea to have this configured. Be careful, a snapshot is not a backup. A snapshot allows you to restore the system to a previous state, while a backup normally involves having a copy of your data stored on another device or medium. You need to choose which partition you want the snapshots to be stored. In my case, I only have one partition with a Linux file system available. You can choose to store the snapshots on the same partition where your Linux system is installed, but choosing another partition has the advantage of allowing you to restore the system in case you format the partition where Linux Mint was installed. Storing snapshots on another hard drive, whether it's a removable drive or inside the computer, has the advantage to give you a way to restore the system if the disk where your Linux system is installed fails. You also need to configure retention options for your snapshots. In my case, I'll keep at least 3 days and 3 boots. What do you want to do with snapshot about your user data? Normally, I exclude it from my snapshots. I prefer to use a backup solution to save my data to an external drive. So, snapshots will be created automatically based on the options configured. You can start the timeshift tool to check the status of these snapshots. For the driver manager, its name clearly describes its function. It's for managing drivers for our system. In some cases, you may get better graphical performance with the proprietary drivers offered from this tool. In other cases, the drivers might even be necessary for your network wireless card to work, for example. It really depends on the hardware you have. In my case, nothing can be installed through this tool. The Update Manager is for updating our system. It is a very important tool to install security updates or any update correcting bug. You can also manage snapshots from here. I'm going to close the Update Manager for now. We'll come back to it later in the video. In the system settings, you can configure various system-related things, like display settings, screensaver, language settings, and network settings. It's a bit like the control panel on Windows. The Software Manager is for installing software available for Linux Mint. It is a little like the Google Play Store for your Android device or the Apple Store for your iPhone or iPad. I'll show you this tool too in the next few minutes. We can also configure a firewall for our system. Here's a quick overview of the other things available from this window. If you want to read the Linux Mint documentation, see the new features, or read the release notes, this is where you can do it. If you need help with Linux Mint, we have a forum and a chat available. If you want to contribute to the Linux Mint project, you can also do it. I'll let you explore all the available options on your own. If needed, I could make a detailed video on one of these options if necessary. Once you're done, if you don't want this window to appear every time the system starts, you can uncheck this option. On most popular Linux distributions, it should be the same principle. You'll have a menu button to display all installed applications. You will have a software manager to install new applications and a place to configure system settings. A notification will also appear when there are updates available for your system. So, regardless of the Linux distribution you install, the first thing I suggest doing after installation is to install system updates. In the case of Linux Mint, we see a small update icon at the bottom right. It will have a small orange dot when updates are available. Here we see all the items that can be updated for my system. I'll click on the Install Updates button to install them. Some additional items may need to be installed for certain updates. It is prerequisites package needed for some updates configured to be installed. I'll click OK to install them. You can do the same without any problem. Our password needs to be entered to perform the updates. We must be logged with a user with administrator right. Usually every 2 or 3 days, you will have updates available for Linux Mint. I recommend updating regularly. Everything installed on your machine is updated through this tool. This includes updates for your web browser. So, it might seem like a lot to have updates every 2 days, but sometimes it's just a small update and it will only take a few seconds. So don't compare this to Windows. Don't think that every 2 days you have to perform a huge update. Let's talk about update stability. Linux Mint is a very stable and conservative distribution about changes. Linux Mint is also built from a very stable base, Ubuntu Linux LTS. In recent years, I've never had any issues applying updates shortly after they were released. Earlier, I quickly talked about other Linux distributions. This behavior about update can differ with them. Some distributions will push constantly more changes in their updates. And with a change, there's a potential risk of creating new bugs. With Linux Mint, the changes caused by updates are much smaller. The most significant changes to Linux Mint will come through an upgrades process. Normally, you only need to perform an upgrade at least once every 3, 4, or 5 years, depending on when the version you installed was released. One thing I really like about this update tool is that you can see exactly where he is during the update process. At the beginning of the process, we saw the list of packages being downloaded, and now we can see those being installed. I like that to be able to see what it currently does. It is the opposite in Microsoft Windows, where we often only see installing updates with a spinning circle that doesn't really give any relevant information about the status and where it is on the process. If you're not familiar with this technical language, it might seem a bit intimidating to see all the package names scrolling by, but I just want to assure you that it's not necessary to look at and understand all of that. You can go make a nice coffee or tea during the updates and come back once the process is finished. You can continue to work too if you prefer. So that's it. The process is done. We see a little warning that a restart is required. This message appears, for example, when there has been an update to the Linux kernel. To use the new kernel version, you need to restart the system. The message says to do it as soon as possible. But don't worry, your computer won't explode if you keep using it without restarting. Just maybe think about restarting it at the end of the day or on the next hours or days. So, we'll close the update window, and to make that system happy, I'll restart the system now. In the menu at the bottom left, we have the menu icon and an icon to shut down the system, and then an option to restart the system. This is very similar to Windows 10 or 11. So, the system restarting. It asks us to log in again with our user account, so I'll enter the password. After applying the updates, what else do we need to cover in this video? As I mentioned earlier, all popular Linux distributions with a graphical interface follow the same principle. They often have a menu with the distribution's logo to show all installed applications. These are categorized. Here we have accessories, internet, office. In the Linux Mint interface, on the left, we have our favorite applications. This icon is the software manager. It's the software store where we can install new software on Linux Mint. When you open it, you'll see many softwares available from the official Linux Mint sources. At the bottom, there's a list of highlighted software. You can browse through it and click on anything you want to install. Otherwise, there are software categories, so you can choose accessories, office, by example, or even a games category if you want to install a game or the Steam application, which is very popular for the gamers. There's also a search bar, very useful for finding a specific software. Let me show what we have on the Internet category. All the applications in this category are listed. When an application is already installed, there will have a green check mark on it. So I'll close the software manager. Most Linux distributions also have a system settings button to configure all system settings. Here's a quick overview of the settings available in Linux Mint. We see the screensaver option. It can be activated after some minutes of inactivity. There's a display option to configure the screens and resolution. If you have two screens connected and want to configure their arrangement, you can do that here. There are also network options allowing you to view the current IP address or to manually configure an IP address. Other network-related settings are available. We have the driver manager, as we saw earlier, for installing drivers. There's also a section to manage users and user groups. If you want to create another user, this is where you can do it. Some buttons will require you to enter an administrator password to configure the option on it, just like in this example. So, I showed you all of this with Linux Mint, but no matter which popular Linux distribution you use and which graphical interface it uses, it generally looks like this. So, there's a place to see all the installed applications, a little notification to warn you when updates are available, there's an application library to download and install other applications. In general, they all look like this, but of course all these options won't be exactly in the same place as where I just showed you. If you install Ubuntu or Fedora Linux, the interface will be different from Linux Mint. But the logic behind all these points I mentioned should be similar. So here we have the window manager to show open windows. There are icons for the applications currently open. You will also see the one closed but pinned to the taskbar. It works a bit like Windows 10 and 11. Otherwise, there's the file browser to navigate through folders and files. There's also the web browser. Firefox is the default one for Linux Mint. You can install others one if you prefer. And finally, we have the system tray. The different icons show, for example, network connections, audio devices, volume, notifications, Bluetooth devices, and just like on Microsoft Windows, there's also a clock to display the time. So, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it helped you on your first boot on Linux after the installation. Maybe other videos will come to cover more specific and technical topics if necessary. My two previous videos had the goal to help you to install Linux and give information to help you to replace Microsoft Windows by Linux, or to install Linux alongside Windows. Windows 10 will no longer be supported by Microsoft in 2025, so rather than saying we need to throw away billions of computers because it's impossible to install Windows 11, why not use a more ecological alternative? Use a lighter and faster system. With more people using Linux for personal and professional computers, it will make more companies to develop on it. Let's create a positive change towards open source solution. It is one of the most eco-friendly actions we can do with the device currently owned. It is more ecological to use an already created computer than trying to migrate entirely to all green technologic cell by big companies. And maybe your experience will be like mine. I found all Linux compatible software that I need. In the first few months, I replaced some software with alternatives. And today, I really like these new programs that I use. Now, when I have no choice to use a Microsoft Windows system, I find myself searching a ways to have the same software that I'm using on Linux. Of course, every situation is unique. I know some big software may be hard to replace or make them work on Linux. You can email the support team of the software to know if a Linux version is available or is in the planning. If more people doing this, more change may be done if a company sees a growing interest on Linux. You can also try to use some software trying to make Windows software work on Linux. We have Lutris, Wine, Bottles, just to name a few of them. Feel free to share your Linux installation experiences in the comments. I would love to read them. Or you can share too what's making you hesitate to try it. Of course, changing your operating system requires some time to adapt. Old habits have to be set aside and new ones need to be created. For me, it was a very interesting change to leave Windows to Linux. I definitely don't regret it. Once people are well set up on Linux, I would say it's rare for them to want to go back to Microsoft Windows. Share your thoughts about it. So that's it. See you on the next video. Have a great day.